This morning in our series, The Dish, the story of a great American restaurant, and you do not need to take my word for it. That is how Food and Wine describes Gramercy Tavern, now celebrating 30 years of enlightened hospitality here in New York. It became a destination for diners and a life changer for its co-founders, Danny Meyer and Chef Tom Colicchio, now two of the biggest names in the food business. Here's what it took to get there and why many food writers believe it changed the way we eat.
From its little maroon awning to the banged-up old bar and wall-to-wall antique furniture, Gramercy Tavern can feel like it's always been here. And the same goes for the menu of locally sourced all-American classics without the hinky in the air of fine dining.
I'm gonna throw these in the box.
But the truth is, Gramercy Tavern almost never was.
Well, I never really wanted to open a second restaurant.
Danny Meyer is now one of America's most acclaimed restaurateurs, a founder most famously of Shake Shack and 11 Madison Park. But back in the early 90s, he had just one spot and zero interest in more.
Truly the only reason that I ever decided to open a second restaurant was because I'd gotten to know Tom Colicchio.
It was at the 1992 Food and Wine Classic in Aspen, Colorado.
I believe this is where Danny and I had lunch together.
That Colicchio remembers sitting down with Meyer.
I pitched him that, I want to talk to you about something. He didn't know what it was.
He said, confidentially, my restaurant's about to go out of business, and there's no one I'd rather partner with than you. It would kind of like if LeBron James said, I'd kind of like to play on your basketball team.
It wasn't LeBron James who he said, but
In fact, Colicchio, a host of Top Chef for 21 seasons now, remembers that Meyer's initial response to the partnership was a no.
he said, I will never open another restaurant again. And I said, okay. And he called me back about a week later. And we had a mutual friend who was a wine importer. And he said, if Sandy Koufax called you and said he wanted to pitch for your team, you'd probably say yes.
Oh, Sandy Koufax ain't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
When Gramercy Tavern finally opened on July 11, 1994, it still had a whole lot to prove.
30 years ago, the restaurant we are sitting in, before it had even opened, was on the cover of New York Magazine. New York's next great restaurant, ? That's a lot of pressure to begin with.
Yeah, basically put a big bullseye on our back because New Yorkers were pretty quick to answer no. Great restaurants are like brand new baseball gloves. You got to play catch for a long time before you break it in.
Well, we're marking the 30th anniversary. That's a pretty long time.
Yeah, the glove is pretty well broken in by now, and a lot of New Yorkers have played catch with it turns out.
The winning idea was to blend the standards of European fine dining with the more rustic comforts of an American tavern.
That was exactly what Danny and I talked about. Take this idea of this casualness, really great food, amazing hospitality and service, tremendous wine, but do everything correct but without the pretense. There's a difference between like an American muscle car versus a Ferrari.
And while it's the food that brought people in, Meyer made sure the hospitality kept them coming back.
I've heard you say that when people come here, they shouldn't feel like they can tell the difference between going out and coming home. What do you mean by that exactly?
We'll do the shopping, we'll do the cooking, we'll serve it, we'll do the dishes, we'll provide a social environment in which you feel like you took a little vacation. But at the same time, we're going to be the best element of coming home, which is you're going to feel loved and you're going to feel like you belong.
Gramercy Tavern became an absolute icon of the New York City scene, with the Times praising its remarkably polished, complicated food and correct but casual service. And while diners clamored for a table, the producers of Sex and the City got Carrie Bradshaw one for the pilot.
Kurt. Wow, what are you doing here?
By the early 2000s, though, Colicchio had so many other projects that something had to change, and he sold his share of the business.
I tell you what, I've only been in that restaurant, I think, 3 times since I left.
Wow.
And it's funny, when I decided to sell the restaurant, I talked to my mother, and she said, don't sell the restaurant, you're going to regret it.
Wow.
And I don't know if I've regretted it. There are times I have. There are times I walk by and say, man, it would be nice.
Which is why the food world was so excited recently to find him back with Meyer where it all started, at the Food and Wine Classic in Aspen, over a dinner to celebrate 30 years and all the colleagues who helped them get there.
What are you guys hoping for tonight?
Our takeaway is how much fun it's going to be.
Yeah, it's great. It's like you get the band back together, you know? You can come back for one night only.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
The two old friends talked about old times.
I mean, Mike Widows is still there, right?
Still there.
Yeah.
He was there on night one.
Yeah, night one. So you got spice on it yet, or honey, or what we can do over here?
Before Colicchio prepared the very same honey glazed squab he'd made as a best new chef here all those years ago.
I need hands. I need more hands here, guys. Come on.
And a room full of fans joined in for a toast
Enjoy.
to the next 30 years.
That's the question. How long can you keep this up?
So the origin story of Gramercy Tavern was, I imagined that this place had been in my family since Gramercy Park was founded. So it's been here forever. And guess what? It needs to be here forever as well.
And the way things are going, it just might be there forever. Mike Anthony, by the way, current executive chef there. He's been a partner as well. He's a James Beard Award winner. Fantastic. He's been there longer than Tom was, in fact. And Danny says the next generation is just as marvelous. Arita Itar is the number 2, runs the kitchen day to day. And the front of house folks keep up Danny's vision, which is not to have a hot restaurant or a trendy restaurant, but a warm restaurant. And he doesn't like the word great. He calls his restaurants essential. That's the goal. I think that's a really
That's even better than great.
So wise.
Listen, I know them both. Haven't been to Gramercy in a long time. Now it makes me want to go.
Yeah, I want to go back. It's been a minute, too, for
Yeah,
me.
me too. But now I didn't know their backstory.
No, me
The two of them.
neither.
I think that's such.
They were so
I think
young.
It's amazing what they've done together.
And they've become such stars in the food world.
Yes.
And if not for this restaurant, none of it would have happened.
Well, I think that's interesting that people tend to forget in this world that we live in now, where everybody's a foodie, that the American cuisine scene back in the early 90s was very, very different than it is today. And it's because of Gramercy Tavern and what Tom and Danny did that we are the people that we are today, the kind of food that we enjoy.
It really
It's
is.
really good. And Sisiamo also very good.
Yes, I've been there as
Anything
well.
that Danny Myers touches, I think,
I agree.
is a place you want to eat your food.
Kraft ain't bad either,
Yes,
Tom Colicchio.
exactly
We'll be there as well.
Yes, been there too.
We love it all here.